Good day, it's March 17, 2025. In big international news this past week, the former Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte was arrested, who is infamous worldwide for his bloody war on drugs, where most critics in the Philippines dubbed the war as a war on the poor in the Philippines. I'm Shahin Rahim, welcome to The Pulse.
And I'm Marivelle Villanueva, welcome to this week's edition.
Philippines' former President Duterte is now in the custody of the International Criminal Court in Hague, Netherlands. The former president was arrested Tuesday morning last week in Manila. Duterte had just landed from a trip to Hong Kong in a campaign speaking tour to the overseas Filipinos, when he was arrested by the Interpol with the assistance from the officials of the Philippine National Police. The warrant of the arrest was issued by the International Criminal Court ICC, on charges of crimes against humanity for the thousands of extrajudicial killings during Duterte's bloody drug war, which the media described as a regime of terror. Duterte's private airplane landed at Villanueva International Airport at 10:30 a.m. When he reached the terminal building, he was placed under arrest in the presence of the Philippine National Police officials. The formalities of the arrest were rendered, including the reading of the Miranda rights, which is also used in the Philippines, being a former U.S. Commonwealth. After his arrest, the former president was brought to a secure facility at Nichols Air Force Base that shares the complex of the international airport. He was seen by a physician and was declared to be in good health. He was with his lawyers during the travel and declared themselves to be representing the former president. Some of his supporters, including high-profile politicians like Senator Bongo, were not allowed to have access to the arrested former president. Vice President Sara Duterte, the daughter of the former president, was also refused entry into the secure facility where Rodrigo Duterte was being held. That included other lawyers who were not already part of his entourage when he traveled to Hong Kong. After 12 hours in Philippine government custody, Duterte was made to board a private jet and transported to The Hague in the Netherlands. The airplane also did a scheduled refueling stop in Dubai before proceeding to the Netherlands. Thousands of family who had family members who were killed during Duterte's war on drugs were gathered in a Catholic church for Thanksgiving for justice now beginning to come to realization. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. waited to inform the Filipino people in a press conference until almost midnight that day. He announced that former President Duterte was arrested and turned over to The Hague in the special flight. President Marcos Jr. said that the Philippine government complied with its obligation to the Interpol, to which it is a member, and such cooperation is an obligation as the Philippines is a member, just as the Interpol had helped the Philippines track down and arrest fugitive Philippine citizens who fled from justice. He mentioned former Congressman Arnie Teves, who was arrested by the Interpol in Timor-Leste or East Timor and extradited to the Philippines. Among former presidents who had been charged with crimes against humanity was Yugoslavia former President Slobodan Milosevic, responsible for thousands of deaths in his ethnic cleansing campaign in Bosnia-Herzegovina, Croatia. Milosevic died in prison in The Hague on the third year of his long trial before his trial was completed.
We have an update on a story we ran here at The Pulse in February concerning Trump's effort to end U.S. citizenship of babies born in the United States to illegal immigrants. Trump's executive order ending birthright citizenship had already been blocked by several federal judges from taking effect. Donald Trump was hoping he will have a better chance in the appellate court. But on Tuesday last week, the U.S. Court of Appeals in the First Circuit, the court ruled that his executive order ending birthright is unconstitutional. Attorneys representing the Trump administration had asked the appeals court to overturn the block placed by U.S. District Judge Leo Sorenkin in Massachusetts, arguing that New Jersey and the other states and organizations that sued didn't have the legal right or standing to bring the lawsuit in the first place. In Tuesday's ruling, the appellate court panel did not weigh in on the overall legality of the lower court's block, but said that Trump's attorney did not prove that the block should be lifted right now. The decision came in a pair of consolidated cases brought by New Jersey and 19 other states, as well as organizations representing immigrants and a pregnant woman who is in this country legally with temporary protective status.
Donald Trump's on-again and off-again announcements on tariff is making the stock market jittery and unsettling. This is the first serious indicator of the investors' confidence in the stock market. By Tuesday last week, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, which is a composite of 30 companies listed for the index, lost 890 points, or fell by 2.1% in a big loss. Nasdaq also lost 727 points, or a drop by 4%. Billions in the market capital had already been lost in the stock market since President Trump came to office in January. And investors' confidence were shattered by his policies, with tariffs and job loss on the forefront. The agriculture sector is taking a hit and could seriously affect the GDP, which now had been downgraded in growth estimate. From the loss of funding that buys farmers' product, the U.S. aid. The trading in agriculture products futures had also plunged. Some are caused by price instability due to possible retaliatory tariffs on agriculture products. We're going to take a commercial break. Please stay tuned.
Pure Medical Equipment provides top-notch quality medical supply equipment. Whether to rent or buy, Pure Medical Equipment and Supplies has it all.
Pure Medical Equipment is committed to serve and give back to Southern Nevada.
We deliver medical supplies and rentals to your door.
All the ladies in the house, after you've gone and left me crying, after you've gone, there's no denying.
Mga kababayan! Welcome back to Chika Chika Today. Who is this mystery woman that Manila's Principe of Pop seems to be smitten with?
Can't I just say, I like you?
What are your intentions with my mother, sir?
You must be Miguel.
Oh, Sin City sweetheart!
You break her heart. I'll break your pretty K-pop face.
I don't want him to think that I'm trying to be his dad.
Is this the real deal? Will she be the inspiration for a new love song? Or quite possibly another one of Gabriel's heartbreak hits? We will keep you posted on any updates as this story unfolds.
Made to Shine, coming soon. Presented by Philam TV Network. Written and directed by Giovanni Espiritu.
Executive produced by Sam Buban and Esmeralda Padilla Gould.
Welcome back to The Pulse. The Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, in a report from multiple media outlets, saying it had arrested 32,800 illegal immigrants in the first 50 days of the Trump presidency. In a report from Newsweek magazine, the numbers vary with other news media outlets. Among those arrested is pro-Palestinian activist Mahmoud Khalil, who is a resident alien or green card holder. He is being processed for deportation, but a federal judge had temporarily blocked his deportation. Mahmoud Khalil had led the organizing of protests against the atrocities in Israel and Gaza at the Columbia University campus. President Trump had pledged the mass deportation of millions of undocumented immigrants in the U.S. history, but without considering the economic repercussion to the country. That among them, a labor shortage in the agricultural and construction sectors.
Canada has a new Prime Minister to replace Justin Trudeau, who had recently resigned. Mark Carney was elected by the majority Liberal Party last week, and growing conflict between Canada and the Trump administration. Mark Carney, who was sworn in Friday last week, replaced Justin Trudeau for a short term until the Canadian general election, which must be held by October 20 this year. Mark Carney, who has become Canada's 24th Prime Minister, is dealing with a tense trade war created by Donald Trump, whose only reason given for starting trade war through tariff is that fentanyl is being brought into the US from Canada and Mexico, which no one in the US government and Canada really believes. Trump issued an order to impose 50% tariffs on aluminum imports from Canada. When Canada said it will impose tariffs on electricity being sold to the US, but then Trump withdrew the 50% metal tariff when Canada withdrew the 25% tariffs on electricity, which would have affected 3 states in the Northeast.
The shrinking of the federal government continues with Elon Musk and Project 25 plans of Donald Trump, and this time, it's the U.S. Department of Education. The plan of the administration is to cut 50% of the workforce of the Department of Education. By Wednesday last week, more than 1,300 employees had received emails telling them not to report to work. Elon Musk's DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, which many politicians call a joke department, has been using a combination of mass termination and employee buyouts. Employee buyouts are those where employees take an option to resign and be paid until October this year. Many of these terminations are being challenged in courts by individual employees and through the unions that represent them. We will take a break. Please stay tuned.
Pure Medical Equipment provides top-notch quality medical supply equipment. Whether to rent or buy, Pure Medical Equipment and Supplies has it all.
Pure Medical Equipment is committed to serve and give back to Southern Nevada.
We deliver medical supplies and rentals to your door.
All the ladies in the house. After you've gone and left me crying. After you've gone, there's no denying.
Mga kababayan! Welcome back to Chika Chika Today. Who is this mystery woman that Maynila's Principe of Pop seems to be smitten with?
Can't I just say, I like you?
What are your intentions with my mother, sir?
You must be Miguel.
Oh, Sin City sweethearts!
You break her heart. I'll break your pretty K-pop face.
I don't want him to think that I'm trying to be his dad.
Is this the real deal? Will she be the inspiration for a new love song? Or quite possibly another one of Gabriel's heartbreak hits? We will keep you posted on any updates as this story unfolds.
Made to Shine, coming soon. Presented by Philam TV Network. Written and directed by Giovanni Espiritu.
Executive produced by Sam Buban and Esmeralda Padilla Gould.
Welcome back to The Pulse. In our world news, in a report by CNN, Russia claims it was attacked by a massive drone attack ahead of critical talks between the U.S. and Ukraine. Russia said it was targeted by a massive Ukrainian drone attack overnight Tuesday last week, just hours before important talks between officials in Washington and Kyiv began. Moscow's military ministry claimed to have shot down 343 drones against Russia by Ukraine, 91 of which targeted the Moscow region. It also reported that 6 Ukrainian strike drones were intercepted near Russia's Kursk nuclear power plant. If the amount is correct, the aerial attacks on Russia would be one of the largest since the invasion of Ukraine. Buildings in Moscow were damaged by falling rubble in what Mayor Sergei Sobyanin described as the most massive attack via Telegram apps. Local officials reported 3 deaths and at least 6 injuries in the Moscow region. According to the regional government, Andrei Vorovia on Telegram, the falling debris caused a fire in the parking lot, which destroyed over 20 cars. Ukraine's armed forces stated they targeted the Moscow oil refineries' manufacturing facilities and that civilian infrastructure facilities were damaged as a result of the Russian aggressors' air defense. CNN's geolocated video shows an explosion at the apartment complex in southern Moscow. According to the state-run news agency TASS, the strikes forced 2 Moscow airports to close for safety reasons, as well as 2 airports east of the city, and they rerouted other aircrafts to other locations or alternate airports. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian Air Force reported that it had defended against Russian ballistic missiles and drone raids overnight. At least 1 person was killed and 18 were injured, according to the multiple Ukrainian sources. The attacks came ahead of Tuesday's meeting between U.S. and Ukrainian delegations in Saudi Arabia, which are now underway. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and National Security Advisor Mike Waltz are meeting with Ukraine's National Security Advisor, Foreign Minister, and Defense Minister. We will protect Ukrainians' interests, have a clear vision for ending the war, and work effectively with our American partners, Zelensky's Chief of Staff, Andriy Yermak stated early on Tuesday. Ahead of the meeting, Rubio stated that the U.S. needed to know what comprises Ukraine's was willing to make in negotiations to end the war with Russia, and that the meetings might determine if Washington restarts giving military aid and full information sharing with Kyiv. CNN previously reported that the U.S. is still sharing intelligence with Ukraine to help its troops protect themselves, but has scaled back in sharing war materials that may be used for offensive targeting of Russian forces, according to 2 U.S. defense officials.
U.S. envoy visits Qatar for negotiations on extending the shaky Gaza ceasefire. According to a report from BBC, Steve Witkoff, the White House envoy, is in Qatar for indirect talks between Israel and Hamas to extend Gaza's fragile ceasefire. Negotiators from both sides began meeting with mediators this week for the first time since President Donald Trump took office on January 20th. The 42-day first phase of the Gaza deal, as well as the interim truce, went into force on the eve of his inauguration. In the first phase, Hamas returned 25 living Israeli hostages and the remains of 8 others in exchange for around 1,800 Palestinian detainees held by Israel, as well as 5 living Thai captives. It finished on March 1st. Israel now expects that the U.S. will promote a plan for a 2-month truce extension, beginning with the release of roughly half of the remaining captives. So far, Hamas has rejected this, seeking rapid talks on the second phase of the original ceasefire deal, which would end the war and result in a complete Israeli troops pullout. However, it indicated that it was approaching the ongoing meetings in Doha with full responsibility and positivity. Israel has halted all humanitarian deliveries to Gaza, including food and fuel, since the beginning of this month, claiming that it is doing so to put pressure on Hamas. The lone desalination plant in the area that provides clean water has also lost power, forcing it to operate at a limited capacity on generators powered by fuel reserves. In response, Yemen's Houthi movement announced on Tuesday that it will resume attacks on Israel ships transiting through the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden, threatening to disrupt a critical maritime route once more. There is rising concern about the possible consequences of Israel's blockade of commodities to Gaza, with some friends suggesting that it may violate international law. On March 2nd, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that Witkoff had requested a temporary extension of the ceasefire until after the Islamic holy month of Ramadan and the Jewish holiday of Passover. According to this proposal, which Netanyahu said Israel had accepted, half of the hostages would be freed jointly at the start and the other half later. Hamas is reported to still be holding up to 24 living captives in Gaza, as well as the bodies of 35 others. Eden Alexander, a 21-year-old American-Israeli soldier, is believed to be among those still alive. There are also the remains of 4 more American citizens. Hamas has accused Israel of breaking the original ceasefire agreement. Despite pressure from regional mediators Qatar and Egypt, as well as in the United States, it is believed that the armed organization will not release many of the captives unless the violence in Gaza is stopped completely. It regards them as key bargaining chips in negotiations. For now, the suffering of the Palestinians in Gaza, especially children, women, and those in urgent need of medical care, continues. That's all for this edition. Please join us again next week. I'm Marivelle Villanueva. Thank you for watching.
I'm Shahin Rahim. Join us next week. God bless your week.
Don't waste your money on CBD. Now hold on, don't turn the video off. If you're already taking CBD, good for you. You're on a good path, but there's a much better way. If you're thinking, should I try CBD? Let me answer a couple of questions that might help you make the decision to even try a CBD product. First of all, let's answer the question, what is CBD and where does it come from? CBD is cannabidiol. It's called a cannabinoid, and it's found naturally in many different plants. In fact, as you see here in the Cannabicae family, there's hops, sandalwood, hackberry, of course, hemp, even marijuana, but we're not talking here about marijuana. In fact, we're going to be talking about hemp. As I started to mention, CBD can be found in hemp, in rather high levels, as a matter of fact. But here's the problem. CBD is not the only cannabinoid you can find in hemp. Hemp contains over 100 different cannabinoids. In fact, in the Cannabicae family, hemp contains the highest level of cannabinoids of any plant. which is why it's the most popular source for CBD. But as I mentioned, CBD is only one of the cannabinoids that you can find in hemp. Hemp contains high levels also of CBC, CBG, and CBN. So why would we want CBC, CBD, CBG, and CBN? Well, as we look at the benefits here from CBD alone, you can see these benefits are great. I mean, who wouldn't want these benefits, right? But let's look at the benefits you can get from CBC. You see, they compound with CBD and offer yet even more. But then let's also now look at CBG. CBG has even more benefits. So naturally, anybody looking for the maximum benefit you can derive from hemp would want CBC, CBG, and CBD. But don't stop there. CBN also has fantastic benefits. So if you're looking for a great hemp product and you're contemplating trying a CBD product, don't just buy CBD. And please, don't buy that cheap gas station grocery store stuff. It's just that, cheap, and it won't benefit you at all. But if you can get a high grade, medical grade in fact, hemp product that contains CBC, CBD, CBG, and CBN, now you are unleashing the full power of your body that can only happen if you have all four of these cannabinoids in your body. If you're taking CBD, you're getting roughly 1/4 of the benefit that hemp can give you. Well, 1/4 is better than nothing, I suppose, but when you want 100% of all the benefits that hemp can give you, that is what happens if you take CBD with CBC, CBG, and CBN. So now you're probably asking, well, where on earth do I get all four of those? The problem now is solved. CBX4 contains high levels, not trace levels, and this is very important, contains high levels of all four of these cannabinoids, which means every benefit we listed up until now is available to you naturally in CBX4 and only in CBX4.